Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the CFL DFS video for week number 19. So in this video what I'll be doing is going over my sheet for the week. I'll be going over whether or not I play players in GPP, cash game, kind of avoid them, or kind of whether or not the RE like GPP pay down or dart throw option. Once again, it's week 19. A lot of these teams have kind of clinched their playoff spots at this point in time, or at least a playoff berth. So some of these teams may be resting players. As we do get news throughout the week, we'll be paying attention to that. But without further ado, we'll get started. And we're going to start off with the BC Lions. So Vernon Adams is $13,300 at this point in time. He's a GPP option. Obviously not quite the cash game option just because of that high price tag, but do like him quite a bit this week. Taquan Mazzell is going to be out at running back this week, so maybe they throw the ball just a little bit more as well. And so probably going to be in line with the field on Vernon Adams once again this week. And then at running back, Jaquan Hardy is listed as the starter. He's not on DraftKings, though. And then we have LaFrance as well that could get some rushing opportunities in this game at $2,500. You could use him as a paydown option if you want to. If Hardy ultimately does become available, if they add him kind of last minute, it should be an interesting play there. And then Davey Mack, he's the fullback, not too worried about him. In terms of wide receivers, kind of the same three guys as we've been looking at as of late. Alexander Hollins at $9,700 GPP option. Dominique Grimes, $10,900 GPP option. And then Keon Hatcher at $12,800 at GPP option. Obviously, they are pretty expensive to stack alongside Vernon Adams, so we're going to try to find some other value throughout the slate if we're going to do that. Otherwise, if you want to take a shot on like Javon Couture, Justin McKinnis, you could probably do that as a little bit cheaper option. Then for the BC Lions defense, $4,300. I have them listed as a GPP option. They are playing the Tiger Cats. I don't know why I have the Lions listed there. Probably even a cash game option if you really want to go that direction. BC does have a pretty good defense. We'll probably see a mix of quarterback once again for the Tiger Cats with Bo Levi Mitchell and Matthew Schultz, so we'll just have to see what that ultimately looks like. But, if Bo Levi Mitchell's playing a lot of the season, he's been pretty turnover prone, so it should be a pretty good one for the Lions overall. And then when we get down to the Tiger Cats, like I just said, Bo Levi Mitchell, Matthew Schultz, probably going to split the time at quarterback unless we hear otherwise this week. So not really too interested in either one since they're not getting that full-time opportunity. James Butler, running back, $10,800 GPP option as always. Still like the upside that he could have. And then we had Sean Thomas Erlington behind him at $3,400 out this week due to head injury. So we'll see if they bring somebody else up to be that backup running back, but doesn't really matter too much for James Butler's sake. Their wide receiver room is pretty banged up this week. So we have Terry Godwin listed as questionable. He's dealing with a back injury. Did not practice on Tuesday, limited on Wednesday. And then Omar Bayless did not practice Tuesday or Wednesday due to his back injury. He's listed as doubtful. And then Tyler Terneski is out once again due to his shoulder injury. So kind of limited here. We'll see a lot of Tim White, probably once again $11,000 GPP option there. Probably a little bit underweight to the field on him this week personally just because of the quarterback situation. If you really want to take a dart throw on Tyreek McAllister, might be the week to do it, but $7,400 a little bit more than I like to pay. Terry Godwin, if he ultimately ends up playing, GPP option there at $7,000. And then I think Keandre Smith's going to look pretty good this week as a paydown option at $4,000. And then we'll have to see what else they do with this wide receiver room. Whether or not they bring someone else up from the practice squad, whether or not they use Kyle Loxley a little bit at wide receiver this week, should be a lot of different options out there. But it'll be really interesting to see what this coaching staff ultimately does. And then for the Tiger Cats defense at $4,000, just a defense that I'm not really getting to this week versus the BC Lions overall. Then we move down to the Rough Riders. If you really want to play Jake Dolegala as kind of contrarian play, you could probably do it at $8,800. Just not really getting there too much myself personally. The touchdowns haven't been there as of late, although some of the yardage has been. Jamal Morrow, $9,000, been playing pretty well, making his return last week, I believe it was. GPP option there if you really want to get there. So probably going to be a filler more than anything for me this week. Probably be in line with the field. And then Frankie Hickson not listed on DraftKings since he didn't play last week. And then Bertrand Hooten behind him, $3,200 not getting to as well. For the wide receiver position, Tevin Jones been dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury once again. So a little bit limited there. Probably going to be most interested in Schaefer Baker, maybe a little bit of Samuel Emilus. And then Jerry Stearns is kind of be $5,200, but not getting to too much Rough Riders wide receiver unit this week. For their defense, going against Stampeders could be a decent matchup there. There is some upside to be had, so I'll probably be ultimately a little bit over the weight to them this week. On the Stampeders side, really not interested in Jake Mayer, although he does have those random pop-off games, but I don't think it's going to be this week because the wide receiver room is pretty banged up at this point in time as well. And then for the running back position, Kadeem Carey, Dedrick Mills, both are healthy at this point in time, so not interested in playing either one. And then Peyton Logan, who's been out for what seems like forever. He was able to practice in full all week due to his hamstring injury. He does not have an injury designation at this point in time, so he could be back as well. So not really interested in that running back room. Reggie Begelton, their top wide receiver at $10,700, did not practice all week due to a chest injury, and he is officially listed as doubtful for this week's game. We'll kind of see what some of these other guys look like if some of these guys come off the IR this week. But Tommy Lee Lewis is kind of a pay down option. If he ultimately plays, he's listed as questionable, didn't practice all week, but was not injury related. So we'll see what his status ultimately is. Marco Michel is going to be the kind of main guy there at GPP option. $6,600. Unfortunately, has that really bad number of 666 in terms of yardage as well. Kind of threw that out there in a couple of group chats this week, but just kind of unfortunate there. There's going to be some other guys that could pop up, whether it's Colton Hungchunk, Trey Dukes Odom, or, Luther popping up this week. We'll just have to see, kind of mix and match some of those guys in if you want to. But, Marco Michel is probably going to be kind of a cash game play for me ultimately this week. And then for that Stampeders defense, they've had some pretty good games this year, so kind of a GPP option if you want to get a little bit overweight to the field on them this week. Do not have a problem with that. Montreal Alouettes, we really don't have an injury report for them yet so far this week, so they did play on Monday, so probably only going to practice today. We'll keep an update on that as it does come out. But, Cody Fajardo, not really trying to get to this week at $8,900. William Stanback, if he ultimately plays, GPP option there, especially if Walter Fletcher doesn't play. But if Stanback misses, once again, Fletcher's going to be very much in play, although it was just an illness for Stanback last week, so I would expect him back this week. And then in terms of wide receivers, mainly just looking at Austin Mack, who did return from injury last week at $10,400, and then Tyson Philpott behind him at $6,000. Those have kind of been their two main wide receivers as of late. Moving down to the defense for the Alouettes, $5,000 GPP option versus the Elks, probably going to be ultimately in line with the field on them. There could be some upside to be had there, but if Trey Ford has a pretty good game, could be a little bit of downside at the same time, and $5,000 definitely getting up there in terms of price tag. Moving down to the Elks, Trey Ford, very much a GPP option. Once again, $11,000, does have that high rushing upside. I think they're probably going to have to throw the ball just a little bit more in this game, but we'll see how that ultimately shakes out. Not really getting to Kevin Brown this week overall. In terms of the wide receivers, if you want to get to Eugene Lewis or Kyron Moore, at $85,000 and $5,800. Some upside to be had there if you're stacking with Trey Ford and GPP formats. I kind of like Gavin Cobb as the paydown option at $3,200. Really played more of a role in the offense last week. And they did put CJ Sims on the practice squad. So the kick and punt return opportunity is probably going to go to Gavin Cobb this week. A little bit Kyron Moore probably here and there as well. And those extra return yards for CFL DFS probably going to really pay off for him overall. That Elks defense going against the Alouettes, kind of a paydown dart throw if you want to go there. And then we're going to get over to the Ottawa Redblacks. So we have Dustin Crum at quarterback, $9,400. GPP, he does have some rushing upside to be had there. Toronto, they may or may not be resting some of their key players as well. He was full at practice on Wednesday due to a calf injury, which seems like he should be good to go. But if we get any other type of news that could affect his running, then maybe he's a guy that we don't want to play at all. Devontae Williams has quietly had a nice little couple game stretch here, so GPP option there. And then in terms of the wide receivers, I'm not really interested in anyone besides Braylon Addison at $4,400. Either yesterday or today was his birthday, so maybe you get a little bit of that birthday narrative this week, which definitely helped out Jalen Acklin earlier this season. Then we move down to the Redblacks defense. They're $3,000, kind of a paydown option. They're going against the Toronto Argonauts, who have been one of the better teams. But, if they're resting a lot of their key players, could be some opportunities to be had there. So maybe a little bit overweight to that Redblacks defense this week. And then for the Argonauts, it's a little bit harder for them this week until we get that official depth chart, see kind of who's playing, who's not, and everything. If Chad Kelly gets to start at $9,600, he looks pretty interesting. If it's not him, if it's Cameron Dukes or Byron Scott, kind of pay down options there at quarterback. We'll see if AJ Alouette plays this week, so can't really say too much on that running back situation. But if he doesn't play, McMahon's probably going to look pretty decent at $5,000 in terms of a little bit of a pay down option. They've been rolling with DeMonte Coxie still, so he's a GPP option, still getting the targets. And then Tommy Neal, DeJuan Brissett, once again, both coming in as paydown options this week. Those would be the two wide receivers I'm really getting to from this team once again. And then Argonauts defense, we'll see who they ultimately end up resting, but still a GPP option versus the Redblacks. Maybe a little bit underweight to the field, just depending on who ultimately ends up playing for Toronto this week. But with that being said, that's kind of a quick, short, brief overview for CFL DFS for week number 19. If you guys have any other additional questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments or reach out to me on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport. Be more than happy to help you in both those places and get back to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, I'm going to try to leave the depth charts once again. This sheet will be updated on my Patreon page as always, so definitely be sure to look out over there. Very small monthly donation. You get access to the CFL DFS, the NFL DFS. You get fantasy football rankings, matchup guides, snap counts, sheets. Once NBA starts up in a couple weeks here, we'll be having the player pool for NBA DFS on a daily basis, Monday through Friday as well. So definitely be sure to check that out. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have in terms of CFL DFS for week number 19. If you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS mainly, which, like I said already, we got CFL DFS video up once a week. Typically on Thursdays. We got an NFL DFS video up once a week that comes out on Saturday as well. And then NBA will be starting up very shortly with Monday through Friday videos for daily core picks for both DraftKings and FanDuel. And then, as always, also be sure to check out my video over on the Sports Affiliation YouTube channel, which is Coach Goes Back to College. I highlight a under-the-radar prospect for the week, my game of the week, and then my favorite prop for college football for that specific week as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have at this point in time. If you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, a lot of great sports out there to do that at this point in time. Definitely be sure to check out the links in the description below. Have the promo code down there or click on the link. And first-time depositors will get some extra promo credit just depending on which site you do ultimately sign up for. Helps you out a little bit, helps me out a little bit on the side as well. And if you guys have any specific questions regarding that, always feel free to reach out as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into this video. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day, no matter what day you're watching this on. A great weekend overall, and some pretty good luck in CFL DFS for week number 19.